And it was the Coalition's turn for a stunt in question time today when they broke the rules to highlight Labor's broken promise to reduce power bills by $275.
On the final sitting day of the year, can the Prime Minister finally give a straight answer and just admit that he misled the Australian people?
Order. Order.
Yeah, record electricity prices are hurting families and small businesses, and they're putting huge pressure too on major industrial users, many now being paid government subsidies, taxpayer subsidies to help them get through. And the Climate and Energy Minister, Chris Bowen, even admitted the blindingly obvious today.
We agree. Energy bills are too high. That's why we're working so hard to get them lower. That's the whole point.
The trouble is that Bowen's plan to lower prices is exactly the same as what he's done to push them up. He wants to keep increasing the share of renewable energy, even though all that spending and the thousands of kilometres of transmission lines to connect the renewables projects and the expensive efforts to store some power, well, that's all pushing prices up and will continue to do so for at least a decade. Yet Bowen insists on spruiking a ridiculous policy that pretends some electricity can be free.
We're introducing solar sharer so that as many Australians as possible get access to 3 hours free electricity in the middle of the day. I mean, you've got to be pretty negative to oppose free electricity in the middle of the day, but they find a way. They're actually opposed to Australians having the right to free electricity.
What an insult to taxpayers, an insult to their intelligence. They're hit by Labor's escalating power prices, and this dimwit minister is trying to tell them they can have free power. What a farce. In fact, the power price crisis is getting so serious now that even the ABC, even the national broadcaster, which barracks for the renewables push and refuses to question the government's climate and energy policies, well, even they have finally noticed that power prices are a real problem.
High electricity prices and the impact that those prices are having on inflation is really the Achilles heel of this government. When can you promise relief for households and businesses? Let me just come back to that bill question, because if we're in a situation in the new year when the prices of people's power bills are not coming down, there's going to be a clamouring call for more power, for more bill relief. Are you ruling it out? Are we in a position now where the success really of the Albanese government is dependent on you bringing down those energy bills? Not to put too fine a point on it, but that's the question. You make the case often, renewables, the cheapest form of energy in Australia. But the ever-increasing costs of building the transmission that needs to go with those renewables mean that power bills are going to remain elevated into the future. Is that just a fact that you need to be more clear about with the Australian public? Let me just ask the question to you again. Renewables is the cheapest form of energy, but is it right that the cost of the transmission is going to mean that our power bills remain elevated into the future?
Let me try.
Simple question.
We're going to need transmission lines.
Is this giant, ambitious renewables projects going to make our bills smaller or not? There's a lot of stake here if you can't guarantee lower electricity prices in coming years. The narrative of a failed government will grow in the year ahead. How are you going to combat that?
Well, it took them a long while to the far side of an election campaign, of course, but they're finally asking about it. Sarah Ferguson and the whole ABC, for that matter, just can't bring themselves, though, to admit that the renewables push is actually the key factor driving up prices. But they can no longer ignore the fact that prices are too high, nor can they deny that it's a problem for the Albanese government. But listen to the minister as he desperately defends his renewables plan.
The transmission needs to be built anyway, regardless of the type of energy that's being generated, point one.
Did he really say that? That the transmission lines need to be built anyway? that the 10,000 kilometres or more of transmission lines being built around the country to link up renewables projects and connect them to the grid would be needed even if there were no renewable projects? That's nonsense, of course. It's dross, bunkum, a lie. The ABC didn't pick it up, didn't pick him up on it. Surprise, surprise. But Bowen and Labor are heading for one hell of a reckoning as they persist with this dud policy and this deceitful rhetoric while prices keep going up and up.